My name is Veer, and I had dance and movement with connection to fire. I did some interesting research on many different cultures, such as Polynesia, which includes the fire knife dances, then Bharatnatyam, which is a dance form in India, African dance forms, and also Sufi whirling, which takes place in Turkey. So, what I got from researching about Polynesian knife dances, I researched that why fire represents that thing in that particular culture. So, I got that fire is it represents courage, warrior spirit, and marks cultural events. So basically, people move around with fire sticks to symbolize mastering a dangerous element, which is fire. And this also connects to how is used as creation, which fire is used as an inspiration to create something beautiful, which is these dance forms. So I also researched on Bharatnatyam, which is inspired by the Agni deity, who is the fire goddess in Hinduism, and she basically symbolizes passion and courage, which is a crucial part in Indian mythology and Hinduism. So the Agni Mudra, which joins the thumb, which represents fire, and the ring finger, which represents earth, is supposed, when you join them, you are supposed to unleash your inner heat and create a balance between different elements.
um, Adding on to connect it to art, there are also ancient cultures that link fire to music for like in rituals and like in prayers. And while painting art or like drawing art, they use ashes or like the sand of it to like draw like famous things.
Yeah, so connecting it to what Shanai said, when he talked about uh, artists using ashes and painting fire, I think artists also paint fire using colors such as red, yellow, orange, and represent it in different ways, supposedly by painting wars, protests, and wildfires to represent destruction, using colors like red, yellow, and orange. Another thing that I researched about fire is that it represents rebirth and renewal. Uh, the concept of phoenix, it is said that the phoenix is a symbol of rebirth. Like the bird is consumed by fire and then it rises from ashes again, which typically symbolizes rebirth and renewal. That something is always created by destroying something else.
So, connecting your point to rebirth, I researched on Sufi whirling, which is a dance form which is in Turkey. So, fire appears to be a metaphor rather than a prop in this dance. So, dancers spin with one hand lifted and the other lowered, and they turn their bodies and spin, which also resembles a living flame. So, fire symbolizes divine love, burning away ego and transforming the soul and bringing it upwards. So, this dance form is also inspired by a famous poem, Rumi, who wrote a poem on how a moth sees a flame. Then the moth feels the heat, the intense pain of the flame, and then merges with it. So it symbolizes transforming one thing into another. So this also symbolizes transformation and renewal.
Adding on to that, fire in music also represents transform. Fire like it transforms matter, and music it transforms like the dynamics and the rhythm of the song. And also I've researched on Foley music, connecting it to his dance. As the dancers they dance like they perform a performance, they there is like a lot of background noise or like crackling noise like when fire burns. So I've searched on that. And yeah.
Connecting to what Veer said when he talked about dance, I think it fire also relates to passion and desire. Like when dancers perform on stage, they feel their passion and desire while performing. And it is and one another thing I wanted to add is it's also represented by purification, and fire is also known as a cleaning agent, like burning away the old. So it is represented in by burning away the old and creating something new.
Yeah. So one more dance form which I researched on was in the African, Caribbean, and Latin American culture. So in these cultures, fire comes together as a symbol of life, energy, and ancestral power. So the basically what they do, they perform grounded rhythmic music and perform rhythmic movements like stomping, hip circle, shaking, and high leaps. These are often performed around bonfires, and the crackling fire noise is heard. And these the dancers draw the strength from the flame, which is in the center. And one more thing is that in these cultures, leaping over the fire, it shows courage and connects with the ancestors.
Adding on to V's dance point, for dances like tribal dances for African people, some composers and visual artists they use synesthetic techniques to equate musical elements to fire, like high notes are used for sparks, and low rumbling like voices are used for smoldering heat.
Yeah, when Shanae talked about sparks, I relate to that. Fire also represents inner spark and hope, as even in the darkest times, there's spark and light which spreads out and it encourages people to go forward. So, so connecting it to dance again, like when something or the other which is not going well, there's like inner spark which helps them to perform well and encourages them to go on.
Connecting to that, as I mentioned in the Polynesian culture, the warriors have a weapon which is basically a fire knife, and they perform with it. So I think that also symbolizes courage and hope, which the warriors have a mindset of, and that also represents bringing light to the darkness, which is a really important part in the Polynesian culture.
Connecting an example to Veer's point, I've researched on a song called Robin's 2. The meaning of the song is basically like warriors and empires they fight with another team to represent how like courageous and how courageous and how like strong they are. And that song, when you hear it, like the middle part, it's the song is like very energetic and also like very joyful, so it like gives you like an it like uplifts you to hear it.
When we talked about historical usages, I connected like how fire was used in the past. So fire was used to create tools in the past for cooking or and building stuff, and it was also used in religious uses like diyas, and apart from religious uses it was also used in bonfires.
I also had a point. In the African culture, fire was used to ward away different animals, to protect them in the darkness, and also to fight different animals which might come in the night. So soon this thing became a symbol of life and energy, since it was used for many different purposes, which helped the tribes and different African cultures thrive.
Um, Adding on to Shriya's point, whatever she told about fire, there are also like spray painting arts that use fire to dry them and like to symbolize like how passionate and like how a high intensity fire has.
Yeah, so it also represents passion, desire, power, divinity, and emotion. And one another thing I wanted to talk about is that the discovery of oxygen marked a pivotal turning point in fire symbolism. Fire transitioned from being viewed as a universal principle to being known as a chemical process.
I had a question to both of you. If you had to describe fire in one word from your domain, what would it be?
So for my domain is art and my topic is fire in music. For me, fire in music, like it symbolizes raw energy, passion, and also emotional intensity. Just as music conveys emotional states through rhythm, the lyrics, and also like the dynamics, how it works.
For my topic, I would represent fire by saying it symbolizes power, divinity, emotion, renewal, purification, and spiritual connection. As as by as by old stories of the phoenix burning, it symbolizes renewal and purification. As it has once been said that Sita walks through fire to remove all her impurities. So fire is also represented as as purification.
I think in my domain, which is dance and movement, fire represents intense feeling, courage, or passion because the dancers are required to do intense footwork and hand gestures, which help them express their thoughts and feelings through movement. And also, when as the dancers brush their feet or move their feet against the ground, friction is created, which is a part of science, and heat is also created.
Even I had a question for both of you. That is fire more physical or symbolic for you?
In my domain, art, fire is more of symbolic, as it connects to many symbolic time in ancient times, like by connecting it to historical usages and what it symbolizes, like as I mentioned before, renewal, rebirth, and spiritual connection.
I think in my domain, fire is both physical and symbolic because fire is also used as an actual prop in the Polynesian culture when they spin around with the fire sticks. But it also has many symbolic meanings in different cultures. Like Hinduism, it's used to purify the soul, and also people are burnt when they die in Hinduism, so it also has a physical aspect to it.
And for my domain, I think it's more of like symbolic, as I told, fire represents raw energy, it represents passion, and it also represents emotional intensity. And connecting it to science, fire like symbolizes many things like the flammable heat signs, the precautions, and like danger also.
I wanted to ask a question to both of you. How do artists use color, light, or movement to show what science calls energy release?
I think scientists use many like vibrant colors such as oranges, reds, or maybe even pink to represent energy or life in their paintings and bring them to life. I think mostly when people think of fire, they think of it's used as a destroyer, it burns things, people are afraid of it. But actually, humans are, I think, harnessing fire for the greater good, and they are inspired by it to create better or things that will help them in life.
For me, fire is represented more like emotionally, as fire is like represented more emotionally as it as it gives you a feeling of like anger and like intensity when you hear like a song, or like as you hear a song, like the middle part of a song, it gives you a very energetic and like happy, joyful feeling.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add is that fire can either be a collaborator or an unpredictable co-author. So by this, I think that fire can collaborate to do something good, but on the other hand, it can spread out and it can also destroy things. Like supposedly like wars or wildfires. And by the saying of collaborator, I think it is beneficial for many other ways like cooking or creating weapons or doing something new.
I think fire is universally respected because it is both dangerous and it gives life. It destroys, it creates, it can transform something, like it can transform wood into ash, or and it also protects people in many different cultures, making it an ideal symbol for movement, emotion, and storytelling.
And for me to summarize my whole topic, fire is more like emotionally intense, and like it gives you like a very energetic feeling. And for examples in songs also, like an example of like funk songs, they're very fast, which like gives like a very energetic and intense feeling.
To summarize my whole topic too, I think fire is represented as a dual symbol, as it can be a creator or it can be a destroyer.